You started?
Yeah.
All right, I got one. You ready for this one?
Oh, I had one too. Oh, man.
All right, you go first. You go first,
I go
and then I'll do
first?
mine.
Oh.
Double intro week. Go ahead.
All right. Heyo. Heyo, Editor Ryan here, and welcome to Mishra's Workshop, where we suck at intros and at timing. This video was recorded before the big announcement from the Rules Committee about banning Dockside, Mana Crypt, Jeweled Lotus, and Nadu. So, some of the things we're gonna say might not all track. We're definitely have a lot of thoughts and feelings about what happened with those recent bannings, and our next video is going to talk about that in a couple weeks. So until then, enjoy this video about what the Rules Committee should have done.
And with that, let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about basically the ban list, the current ban list for Commander. There's been a lot of recent events going on with the Commander ban list, and we've had some thoughts and some topics we want to bring up about it.
I gotta remember to look at the camera.
That would be helpful. So I guess first we should just do a quick overview for anybody who's newer to the format. So with Commander, Commander has its own separate rules committee. So I think there's 5 people on the rules committee right now, and basically their job is to essentially just ban cards that they think are pretty much too powerful or aren't healthy for the Commander format.
Yeah, too strong, too powerful, too easy to abuse. They have a bunch of reasons.
Yeah, so they're not necessarily trying to balance the format. It's more of a make sure it's fun for everyone. Because again, they do say, this is supposed to be a fun format, except for the people like us who play competitive, and that's a whole nother thing. But we'll get to that later. But essentially, their job is to try to watch out for super abusable, super powerful cards and try to keep them out of the format. Try to stop them from ruining other people's fun. That's essentially it. And then working alongside the rules committee is the Commander Advisory Group, the CAG. So that has, I'd say, roughly like 10 people on it, and I think most of them are creators, but essentially they advise the commander from feedback that they get from their platforms, and they kind of tell them like what the community is saying in terms of what cards are too strong, what's too unfair to play against, what's unfun, and they kind of feed information and help spread what I'm looking for. Spread the
gospel.
Yeah, something like that. They're trying to spread the reach of the rules committee. That's a good way to put it. So currently the rules committee, they're not really doing much. One of the guys on the rules committee actually came out with a tweet, which we'll probably be putting up now. Do you have that tweet, Ryan?
Yeah, I got it over here. So what Sean just said, there's been some issues with the rules committee recently. They've been kind of radio silent. Their monthly updates are kind of, a lot of them kind of feel like they're just advertising for Magic now that they're kind of getting a little bit more recognition from WotC. There's a little talk, they talked a little bit about watching Nadu. They've been talking about banning Dockside on and off for like 5 years, but they haven't done anything. They haven't unbanned a card from the ban list. They haven't banned a card in a while, since I think Golos was the last one that was like actually banned. Their recent project's been silver bordered cards. Which is weird, but they've been going through all of the unsets and categorizing the silver bordered cards as to cards that would be okay to play in Commander and cards that still aren't okay to be legal in Commander. But they're also not planning to make them legal at the same. It all sounds like a waste of time. And while they've been doing this, a tweet came out from someone on the rules committee Jim LePage from the Spike Feeders. He is an avid CDH player. I'm sure if you're on this channel, you've seen him. You know what's going on with him. He's probably a really cool dude. I never met him in real life. He seems awesome. But he came out with a tweet. What was this, like 3 weeks ago now, basically saying that the rules committee has no interest in managing CEDH. They aren't going. Flash was a one-time thing. They aren't going to do any other like CEDH focused bans. And if the CEDH community has any issues with the meta, which a lot of us do right now, we got to manage it ourselves. That ended up turning into Top Deck, a very popular tournament organizer, to start dabbling and trying to make their own rules committee, coming out with their own ban list, trying to actually do what Jim said that we have to do. And that just recently imploded because of other reasons. But this is all kind of just stemming from the CEDH coming out with their own rules committee, and casuals kind of leaning on the rule 0 more than ever. There is basically all just stemming down to the rules committee not really doing what they are meant to do. They're not really. It's all about power. Like, it's all. I'm lost. I rambled too much.
Yeah, lost in the sauce.
It's been
essentially,
you know what really grinds my gears? That's been this entire week.
Essentially there's a lot going on with the rules committee right now, and we're not really getting a lot of direction. And when people did try to take charge, that fell apart quickly. And we're going to go over, so we're going to be talking about some things that we think should happen with the current ban list, maybe some things that should be banned, but overall just like something that, you know, kind of thinking about. I'm thinking it's getting closer to that time where maybe Commander's starting to become not so much of the fun format that it's painted to be, and it is like a real format like Standard or, you know, Pauper or anything like that. And I think sometime soon it's going to switch into that, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
At least for competitive. But when it comes to casual, I think what's really messing with casual is the amount of self-policing that we have to do before every game. We were talking about in our first episode about Rule 0 conversations taking 20-30 minutes. That's becoming an actual thing because Wizards power creep is going through the roof. The rules committee is playing with silver board cards instead of actually managing and trying to keep up with that power creep. And that's resulting in some strong cards that we're going to talk about that we feel like should be banned, and that would be good for both formats. I think both forms should be good for both formats.
Yeah, something like that.
And also cards that should be unbanned because they're not strong anymore. They're not toxic, they're not strong. They can be managed with fairly easily now. And there's a handful of cards too that are probably like, the power creep has gotten to a point where these cards are now okay. They're not bad, they're not super OP, they're just okay. They're playable. And that's kind of where we're at. We're jumping on the if we were the rules committee. We are the rules committee now.
Yeah, we are the rules committee.
We are the rules committee. This is what we're doing. All these cards are going to be unbanned and banned. Obviously, yes. Our word is law with all of our amazing subscribers. You're few. We're few but powerful.
We're starting it from here. All right, and with that being said, we're going to go into the first card we're unbanning right off the bat, Biorhythm. This card's sorcery for 6 and 2 green. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls. I guess back in the day, you know, this was super strong, so being in green, people could ramp out quick with mana dorks and stuff like that. They could probably play an 8 mana spell on like turn 5, maybe 4 if you get really crazy. But I don't know. That we already have it on another card, that same effect. Shaman of the Forgotten Ways.
Yep, Shaman of the Forgotten Ways. Used to be a win con in one of my decks. But the spicy thing with Biorhythm that I heard about that was like going on is that you could essentially draw the game out if like you could board wipe and then Biorhythm, but that's like 11, 12 mana. Biorhythm's 6 and 2 green. So that's 8 plus a 4 mana board wipe, 12 mana. That's no. That's insane now. And also, Shaman of the Forgotten Ways has its own little like caveat where you have to have creatures out, but your opponents don't. So it does the same thing anyway. It still kills your opponent. It's still a win con, no matter what. But Shaman of the Forgotten Ways is also a cheaper effect, which is weird. That when that came out, that wasn't instantly banned, but Biorhythm's been banned since the start of Commander. And it's just so cards like these, like they don't make sense anymore to be on this ban list. And yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
So that
anymore.
that one simple, straightforward to the point. We already have new versions of it. Shaman of the Forgotten Ways hasn't taken over the format or done anything crazy in the last 10 years. Don't think this card will either. Unban starting now. Now, the next one, that was something that me and Ryan both agreed on. This next one...
We agreed on a few of these. The next two we agreed on.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So, next one, Braids, Cabal Minion. 2, then black. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or a land. I mean, at some point, I guess this was just an oppressive stacks piece, but now this isn't oppressive at all. We have so much worse, like so much more aggressive, harder stacks that really ruin people. For 4 mana, especially it being on a creature, so it's pretty easily removable. I mean, this is not bad at all. 10-15 years ago when this was like initially banned, that maybe back then I could see it being a problem. Nowadays, not a problem at all.
So yes and no. I mean, you're a lot more onto this card than I am, but so I could see a world where, since it's in black, you play a land, you play Dark Ritual into like a Soul Ring, and then you get her out on like turn 1 and take over the game completely. I could see a world where that's bad. But what we were just saying before, we're already in the territory where we're policing our games more than ever with Rule 0. If you're at that power level, you should be playing the free counter spells anyway to deal with it. There's so many 1-drop removal spells now. If it gets to your turn on like turn 1, she triggers. You don't have anything to sack, so you're fine. You play your 1 land, you pass or whatever, or you just slam it down now and she's gone. There's a place for her. Not in like the trudges of precons, Mimi decks, and even focus decks. I probably wouldn't want this, but throw it in like an optimized, high-powered, even possibly I don't think maybe CEDH. I don't think so. I don't think her effect really hits CEDH like that. But like an optimized high-power table, I think she's fine. She's just annoying at that point.
Yeah, nothing bad at all. Yeah, I say unbanner starting now.
Released.
Next one, yeah, perfect. Starting now, unbanned. She's going in Keurig. Next one, Coalition Victory. Yeah, this one, Coalition Victory, Jesus. It is 3 colorless, and then Plains, Island, Swamp, Mountain, Forest. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. So that is interesting. So one thing me and Ryan were talking about trying to figure out with this card is the part where it says a creature of each color.
I'm about to look that up right now, actually.
Yeah, take a quick peek. The commander, we were wondering if like a commander's identity would count towards that. So like a Najeela, for example. Najeela is a red and 2 generic, but has like an activated ability that's like Wooburg, all the colors. Would Najeela count towards having a creature of each color. So I don't think so. Brian's gonna take a quick peek and see if he can find that right now.
It doesn't say because it's been banned, and no rulings really care because it's been banned.
That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure it's not color identity. It's just color.
Yeah. So I mean, this card
So like
in 2000.
so like if it's in a Sisay deck, Weatherlight Captain, just because she has just because she has like 5 colors in her activated ability doesn't work. The same thing with Kenrith. This is also one of the cards that the CDH rules committee unbanned, and there were talks about how playable is it even in like CEDH, and I think it really only fit in Kenrith. I think that's really the only place where like someone suggested it and it kind of stuck. So sure, that's CEDH, but it's like one deck that's actually like able to play it and win the game with it. But it's 8 mana. It's Wooburg. Sure, you could cheat it out with the new Leyline of Mutation, the Fist of Suns, Joda, or whatever. It still costs 5. And it's like it's not even a 2-card combo at that point. It's like a multi-card combo.
Yeah, I think this would be fun. Honestly, I think this would be a fun win condition in like a casual deck, like Approach of the Second Sun, like all those weird you win the game cards where it's like you have to jump through hoops to do something ridiculous. I think it would be fun in a deck like that.
Yeah,
but,
like Maze's End, like something like Maze's End. Like this is, I mean, Maze's End is a lot harder to kind of get, but this is where that fits. Like if you're playing a Craterhoof win con type of thing, this is a 1-card win con too, kind of. You still need the setup just like Craterhoof. I don't think anyone's seen a problem with this card in years. This is kind of like the Mimi unban card that I've seen. What is it? I just saw the professor like on a TikTok saying unban Coalition Victory, unban the Moxes. Like
except he might actually mean Coalition Victory. I don't know how he feels about the
he was
Moxes.
serious about the Moxes too. He is under the impression Soul Ring is stronger than a Mox.
I mean, not we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. We'll get to that when we get to it. Next card. Oh, this is a rough one.
Oh, this one's mine. No, this one's mine. Let me do this. So the next one is Erayo Soratami Ascendant. I remember seeing this before I read the card. I remember seeing this in like a Star City Games unban casual commander thing. This card didn't do anything. Anyway, 1 and a blue, flying. Whenever the 4th spell of a turn is played, flip Erayo Soratami Ascendant. It flips over into Erayo's Essence and a legendary enchantment that says counter. I have to read it upside down. Counter the first spell played by each opponent each turn. So the first spell someone plays is countered automatically. That's it. This was I could see why this is a problem. You know what else is a problem? Jin Gitaxias Progress Tyrant. Does the same exact thing with the exception of I think 2 cards.
Yeah, I think Jin is creature, artifact, enchantment.
Yeah. So Jin Gitaxias costs a lot more. He costs 7. He's 5 and 2 blue. And whenever an opponent, the first part doesn't really matter. The first part is extra. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once. So they get a free counter spell too off of your instant, sorceries, artifacts. Basically any type of interaction you're trying to do to stop him from doing the thing, you can't. So like this is kind of where the power creep's gotten, where they take this is a strong effect. I'm not gonna say this isn't a strong effect, but we got it now. We got it now in a legal card, but now we have it in an illegal card now too. That you have to play 4 spells in a turn for this thing to flip. everyone knows that 4 spells need to be played for it to flip. So it's also kind of a little bit of a stacks piece where it's not exactly rule of law where everyone's just automatically limited to 1 spell a turn, but everyone's going to be hard stopping at like maybe 1 to 2 spells, either forcing you to play your like 2-3 instance to flip the thing over and go through your resources, or just not even or just you stalling it out as long as possible until they find a way to get rid of it. I don't
honestly, I don't see a problem with it either. It sounds like a very interesting mono blue commander to run. It does blue stuff, you're countering things, it plays mono blue very well. It doesn't sound that bad. Also, 4 spells a turn, especially if you're playing like casual and lower power levels.
That's never happening.
You will never see 4 spells in a then no shot.
That's never
absolutely
happening.
Not. Yeah, absolutely not. You're
so
not gonna
it's
see
yeah,
4
so
spells.
it already has its own little floodgate where it's going to want to be played again in optimized higher powered tables that are ready for it, that have the removal, like have the good removal to take care of it. Just like in Jin Kataxis, just like the Jin Kataxis card is only really played in like optimized high powered tables too.
Yeah, exactly.
So either ban Jin Kataxis, don't, or unban Erayo. And they're essentially the same thing. They're both legendary. They could both be your commander. It's the same thing.
Agreed. Next.
I'm getting
Gifts
angry.
Ungiven.
Why am I getting angry?
Gifts Ungiven. Well, it's alright. You don't have to be angry because we're unbanning all these cards starting right now. So they're all unbanned. So the next one we're unbanning is Gifts Ungiven. Blue and 3. Instant. Search your library for up to 4 cards with different names and reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Then shuffle. So this card could be a problem because people would essentially find lines with it to tutor up, essentially just tutor up win lines and get a combination of game-ending combo pieces and reanimate pieces so that no matter what you chose, they were bringing stuff back from the graveyard and they already had the rest of the stuff in their hand. And that's essentially what they were doing. Back in 2009, when this was banned, yeah, I could see that being a problem. Currently, we have intuition lines, which do the same exact thing for cheaper.
Cheaper.
So we
already
got it. Yeah, like we already have it. Like it's already here again. And yeah, there's no reason for this to be banned. This is pretty straightforward. We literally have a strictly like better version of this card already out. That yeah, this really isn't doing much anymore. No real reason for this to be on the ban list.
It's a little more color locked, but like the go-to line now with intuition is you get intuition, you get Sabine's Reclamation, and pretty much like anything you want.
Yeah, so
really?
Yeah, basically.
So like,
yeah,
if they give you Sabine's Reclamation, you bring back the one of the other 2 cards that you picked. They don't give you Sabine's Reclamation, you still get to play Sabine's Reclamation from the graveyard with flashback and get the card that you lost anyway. So it's silly.
Yeah, so in competitive, they're doing it with what is it? The Underworld Breach, thank you. Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Sabine's Reclamation. And essentially, no matter which one of those 3 cards you pick, you're gonna get the card you need. You really just need Lion's Eye Diamond and the Underworld Breach to start going, doing your loops to go infinite, play out your deck, do all that stuff. So that we already have this. We already have this card. And it's not even like we have this card at home, like the McDonald's we have it at home.
We have a better version of this card.
Yeah, it's you actually have a McDonald's in your kitchen. It's real. People work there. That's what we have already. So this is dumb. No, we don't even need to talk about it anymore. We already got a better version. Unban it. That's silly. All right, so the next one. Now this one's more of a me one.
Oh, this is 100% you.
This is a me one.
Argue.
Nah, so this is Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. Golos enters, he goes 5, just 5, any color. He's a artifact creature. When he enters the battlefield, you search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, shuffle your library. Then you can pay 2 colorless in Wooburg, exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn without paying their mana costs. So, hear me out on this. I don't think this card needs to be banned. Now, when they banned this card, it was essentially because it was really powering through lower power level decks, and that's kind of where like this ban list was focused on. And it was just a lot of times Golos, it just did so much that it could kind of cover all different deck styles. So you really didn't need all these other cards when, just about any deck you wanted to build, you could just build a 5-color Golos deck doing the same thing, and it would work because Golos just, kind of got it like that. Now, I think, yes, that could potentially be a problem, but also when you go through the pieces of it, when you look through the card piece by piece, enters the battlefield, get a land. Super cool. Comes in tap, so it's not crazy broken. Like, yeah, I'm sure you could blink it and do all this other stuff with it to get extra lands, but it's not really that great. And then the activated ability, the 2 in Wooburg, you're paying 7 to exile the top 3 cards of your library, and then you can play them without paying their mana costs. Yeah, like that's helpful, but that's also a 7 mana ability. 7 mana for 3 cards. So it is fairly strong. And like strong. I could see it being like a solid commander, but the toolboxy nature of it where you can kind of build whatever you want around it, I don't think is bad. So this is more, I would say, of a deck building thing. And as time goes on with all the thousands of new cards that they're making every like year, because they just pump out sets, soon Golos isn't going to be that like jack of all trades type of commander that just fits everything. There will be cards that will inevitably be printed to do all these other random effects that you want to do. But Golos, I think, is just a solid option. And when you take him at face value, he's not super overpowered. Now, if you build him now, so here's the other part of it. If you build him very strong and you have some kind of dumb build with him where he's just crazy powerful, well, then you shouldn't be playing at like, the weak casual levels. If you have a strong deck, then you're just like pub stomping people. That's a different thing altogether. It's not that the commander's too strong. It's that you're an asshole. That's all it is. It's not that the card is a problem. That's a player problem. But, that's just you're playing too powerful for where you're at. It's not that the card is super crazy. I mean, it comes in, yeah, it gets you a land. That's awesome. And then you pump a lot of mana into it and you can hopefully you'll get 3 playable cards. Like, yeah, that's cool. But like it's not really breaking the bank. And as time goes on, it's the reason why it's banned, because it's like, oh, it can do everything. Well, as time goes on, more and more cards are being printed that do those random things that one couldn't, and doing it better. So I wouldn't say it's that great anymore. And as time goes on, it's only going to get weaker.
Okay, so it wasn't banned because it was too strong. It was banned because it was too generic. And it basically homogenized Commander at a point where if you're playing a bunch of strategies, if you're playing Sisay, again, back to Sisay, Weatherlight Captain, if you're playing Sisay, why not just play Golos? Same basic thing. It's 5-color good stuff that you can build in any way, shape, or form.
So the Sisay argument's not that great, because Sisay's active ability is actually tutoring out the things you need and is like chaining them in loops to win.
Yeah,
but you're just looking at the top 3 cards.
Yeah, but you also don't have the legendary only restriction. You also don't have like the restrictions. We could compare it again to Kenrith, sure, but even like cutting it down to like either other other not 5-color decks, where it just adds a color to the deck and makes it kind of better, or not even just better. They could just do it either as well too. But so 7 mana for the activated ability doesn't sound good until you realize cost 5 to play, so you're already at 5. Then he gets you a land, so now you're at 6. Next turn, drop a land, drop any type of ramp, and you get an activated ability on your next turn. That's like kind of worst case scenario. I mean, worst case scenario, you can't activate them at all, but like this is kind of like normal scenario. You play them, you get your 6th, then next turn you play your 7th, and you activate them and get 3 cards for free.
But you still need all the different colors. So playing him at 5 with him being all colorless, if you Soul Ring Mana Crypt and a land,
that's not.
Yeah, like you'll be able to get him out turn 2, but you don't have the colors. You're not anywhere near those colors yet.
That's not hard to do. You've seen my little dragon deck fucking trudge along. That's not. Getting 5 colors isn't hard. And
yeah, especially, it's not hard, but it takes time.
Especially with his. So the other sneaky thing that he does is search your library for a land, not a basic, any land you want. It could be a Guy's Cradle, it could be Command Tower, it could be... There's Nykthos.
2 Command Towers. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I understand.
I don't think you... I played against it once.
It plays
on
well
MTGO.
into itself.
I played against it once on MTGO, and it kind of went bonkers. But this was years ago. And it was still, I don't think it's a strength issue. I don't think it's a strength issue anymore. It's still a homogeny issue where it's just a generically good commander that can like be played in any which way you want and kind of do it better than some of the other commanders that also want to do the same thing.
Yeah, so looking at the list where like they have the ban list and they have all the cards, they put a little explanation about why each one's banned. So for this one, it does say that like apparently it was a powerhouse and low to mid level like power level. So I'm reading it off the website. This is what they said. But then after that, it does say that it was just a better choice of leaders for all but the most commander centric decks. So, like, yeah, it is just 5 colors, does whatever you want. But I do think that even with that, depending on what you're doing, like you could also just, use your creativity and you could still build cool stuff with it. I don't know. I think as time goes on, like more and more cards are coming out where this is going to be less and less of like command, like just a coverall for any kind of strategy that you want to do that there's no commander for, because at some point they're just gonna keep printing them, so eventually they're gonna get to whatever you want it to be.
So I could see a world where Golos can be unbanned when there's enough commander centric
when there's enough random stupid effects to cover every random stupid effect that someone wants to build a deck out of. They can't find the right commander.
More of like this commander does a specific thing. Like, so commander centric decks, like Kenrith isn't commander centric. Blue Farm isn't commander centric. Dragons isn't even really commander centric. You can build a dragon deck. You don't have to use the Ur Dragon. You could use any dragon, really.
No, I get what you're saying.
But like Keurig, you can't build a Keurig deck like you can't build Golos like Keurig. So like if your deck is focused around your commander, if they make more cards like that and either bring up those type of commanders or make more of them that are actually like, I don't want to say good, but like good, then I could see a world where Golos comes out of the ban list. But I think he still needs to stay in timeout for maybe another year or 2. That's my take. You started to lean me over. You started to convince me a little bit, but I still don't think we're there yet.
I think it's inevitable. I do think we're moving into more unique cards. Yeah. So like it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
So why waste time? Let's just do the big unban now. Throw it in, lock it up. It's unbanned.
We're keeping up with WotC. We're keeping up with WotC.
Yeah. All right, next one, Hullbreacher.
Back to
we both agree.
Well,
back to agreeing.
So I heard a spicy thing about this. So an interesting take that we haven't really talked about. So
well, first let's just say what it does real quick.
Hullbreacher is a 3/2 for 2 and a blue with flash that says if an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw in each of their turns, each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. So if someone draws a card outside of their draw step, outside of the one card they draw on their draw step, they don't draw that card and you make a treasure. This turned into a whole big hubbub where what is it? The casual players started to do not casual things with wheels and basically turned the game off. So again, we have a card that's still legal that does the same thing or close to the same thing called Notion Thief, where instead of them drawing the card, you draw the card. And I mean, they're essentially the same effects. They kind of slow the game down, but the take that I recently heard, and I want to know how you feel about this, is Hullbreacher shuts the game off more than Notion Thief because at least Notion Thief progresses one person's board or one person's game by drawing them the card. Hullbreacher just shuts the game down. You're ramping. You're not getting any more value. You're just ramping, and you're still stuck with whatever cards you have.
So it is a solid point, but I think it's more of a timing thing. So yeah, if you're doing the wheeling Hullbreacher thing, and again, if you're doing this in like a not competitive, like you're doing this in like casual, again, you're being an asshole. You're doing too strong things to weaker pods. So like, yeah, there's not much. Yeah, like then I could see that point. Yeah, that's a fair point, because then you're just being a jerk. You're not really progressing the game or whatever. Yeah, it makes sense. But in stronger pods, especially like the very strong pods, like you going all the way up to competitive, if someone pulls off a wheel and a Hullbreacher, I mean, a lot of decks only really need 1 or 2 cards to pick them back up. I mean, in Keurig alone, if I top deck a tutor, I can chain off of that and just start going. Something like Sisse, they probably don't even need the cards because they're tutoring up there. They're chain tutoring their entire win, so they probably don't even care. They don't want anyone to have cards in their hand. If anything, you're just giving them the green light to go off. So this, I think, is one of those cases of it got abused in casual and it just ruined everyone's taste of it. And honestly, it's not a bad stacks piece at all. I don't think it's bad whatsoever. And as long as people aren't doing dickhead things with it, like it's not oppressive. It's not ruining the game. It's, helping keep someone or helping hold back people who are pulling away. When you use stacks reasonably and responsibly, they're good. They're good for the game.
It's also, it's more of the decks that are running the wheels are also running this card. It's the same, but that's the same thing with Notion Thief. So I get it. And I mean, I don't think so. Hearing that it doesn't progress the game like Notion Thief does, it makes sense. It makes sense that it's like worse. It's a more toxic, or however you want to say, than Notion Thief. But yeah, I still think like it has a home in optimized high-powered decks. I know you wanted a Nekusar. You wanted so badly for Nekusar.
No, I can't because it stops the draw. So
so it stops the draws. Oh, I wanted it in competitive. You can't do that with Notion Thief either.
Yeah, I want it in competitive to stop the mid-range.
I don't even think this is going to be played in. I don't even think this is going to be played in competitive if it gets unbanned, because 100%. Wheels are bad. Wheels are notoriously bad now.
Yeah, no, it's not even for wheels. It's not even for doing that. It's for people sitting around and drawing 4 cards a turn from, their Tim the Crom lists, or
Yeah.
that's what it's stopping. It's like, oh, heuristic study, cool.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead,
yeah.
go to draw. Yeah, like it would 1000%. It would be a staple instantly in every blue deck. And then it's like, oh, cool. There's 3 heuristic studies out. All right, well, I'm not paying for anything. Let's see how much ramp I get. Like,
Yeah, and
without a
especially
doubt.
and I'm pretty sure the only reason Notion Thief isn't played is because of Bowmasters. Notion Thief
that's
is a
the
3-1.
big reason.
So someone plays Notion Thief, you're like, cool, Bowmasters, kill it. I draw anyway. Eat shit and die.
Yep, yeah, essentially.
This thing is a 3-2. Yeah, I think we've gotten to the point. I think, well, we just said it. So I think CDH has gotten to the point where it's playable. At least it's good. It's strong. And casuals, again, we're policing ourselves more than ever. Police yourself. Control yourself. If you're not playing at an optimized high-power table, don't run this. Don't be that guy.
Don't be a dick, which I think is what we could say about most, especially the next card.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely what we could say about most of the cards here. Don't be a dick. So, yeah. So the next one, that's one of yours, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, it's not. Leovold?
Oh, no, I saw they were switched with the one after that. That's what threw me off.
Oh,
but yeah,
I'm
next
also
one.
I'm also don't know my alphabet. So yeah, I guess technically I am next in alphabetical order.
Go ahead.
All right. So speaking of not doing dickhead shit, Iona, Shield of Emeria. I was very close to actually taking this off my list, to be honest. Just because it's like
Unban it.
I don't know. It's a spicy card, but it's 6 and 3 white for a 7/7 angel with flying. As Iona, Shield of Emeria enters the battlefield, choose a color. Your opponents can't cast spells of the chosen color. Period. Full stop. No printer.
Yep.
I don't think they say that anymore. And yeah, this is... I can see why this is banned. It is a terrible, terrible card to play. Again, at the casual level. And if you're up against a full table of monocolor decks, you shut off one person. You're bullying one person to the point where they just sit there and can't play the game. If you see someone doing that, you could always kill them. If you're trying to be nice about it, casual tables are usually nicer about things. Also, at the same, if this is an optimized high-powered card, it's 100% a stacks piece. We all know how casual players don't like stacks pieces. So don't play it. But it also doesn't need to be banned, especially if you're policing yourself and you don't play it. Let everyone who's like building those stronger decks have access to these cards to actually like play out what they want to do with their decks and open up a stronger, I guess, a deck strategy. Usually, I think the big thing, does it say on the thing? Does it say how it was supposed to be? If it was like the commander, it was an issue or something. I don't know.
It was just banned outright in 2019. It was just people banned it for, same thing, casual level people playing it and locking.
Especially when opponents are playing 1 or 2 color decks, this often has the effect of totally negating 1 or more. Yeah, okay. So
yeah,
they didn't really talk about the scenarios. There are multiple scenarios where the deck Iona's the commander. You see it coming. You know to be ready for it. Probably kill that person before they get to 9 mana, this is a very late game type of thing. I know white has gotten a little bit of extra ramp help, but that's still very like situational. If it's like if someone plays an extra land per turn, or if somebody or what is it, Smothering Tide. If someone draws an extra card, then you can make a treasure, or like it's always relying on someone else doing things that speed them up for you to catch up. So
Yeah.
9 mana isn't something you're casting on like pushing it on turn 5. It's like even turn 5 is kind of pushing it. Where this really gets scary is Reanimator. Somebody is reanimating her on like turn 2, turn 3. That's horrifying. And I can see a world where that is not fun. You know what else is not fun? Playing Entomb in a at a power level where tutoring is not appreciated.
Yeah.
So like this is all kind of going back to like power levels, self-policing, doing what we are already doing because the rules committee isn't really doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're doing it ourselves.
Yeah, so the other thing with that is it was also a problem with Painter Servant, and it was the Painter Servant combo.
Oh, that's right. They wanted
Whereas-
to unban Painter Servant while banning her. Okay, see,
Yeah.
now I might have to take it back off because that's also a little silly. That's a lot of silly.
Yeah, so Painter Servant's 2 mana artifact creature. When it comes into play, choose a color. All cards that aren't in play, all spells, basically everything is that color, in addition to their other colors. So you'd play Painter Servant, pick white, and then play Iona and choose white, and now everyone's locked out of the game but you. And that was like one of the big reasons why they got rid of
Because
her.
they
But
wanted to unban Painter Servant, and look what it did. It's done nothing.
yeah, absolutely nothing. Yep, but it's alright. We're unbanning it starting now. It's fine. And then yeah, starting now, it's unbanned. It's okay. I think it'll be fine. Figuring out all that mana to do all that stuff. Same thing. Don't be a dick. Don't play it at lower power levels. That's basically it. Don't play it at low power levels and bully people, and we won't have problems. Speaking of that, the next one.
Now, speaking of bullying people.
Speaking of bullying people.
Oh, your next two are. Woof.
Yeah. Leovold, Emissary of Trest. So, Leovold is a black, green, and a blue. And it says that each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. Alright, not bad. And then whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. So, that's also pretty solid. So, essentially, with this card, it got banned back in 2017. And it was basically just don't let people draw extra cards, which I really don't see as a problem at all right now. I don't see why this would be like a problem. You know, you can't draw extra cards. And I guess back then, you know, maybe people were playing it and then they were using effects to kind of make people discard and stuff. So like it was one of those, you know, play a windfall or something, discard everybody's hand, and then they can't draw, so they lose it. So it's like it was essentially being a dick in tables that you shouldn't be a dick in. That's what it was. That's what was happening there. Being a dick when you shouldn't be a dick, got it banned. So yeah, that possibility is always there. But, and hear me out on this, don't be a dick and bully people at tables who decks can't handle it. If you're playing precons, don't play Leovold in a windfall. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Not a crazy concept. Just don't be a jerk about it. And we can have, this would be a great card. I think this is one of those cards that I think would be fantastic and competitive. Honest to God. I think right now with all the card draw being a problem, I think something like this would be amazing.
Well, good news for you. This is another card that the competitive rules committee was planning to unban, or was at least testing with this being unbanned. I know,
As it should be.
I know there were less talks about this guy being your commander and more talks about it being in TNT, Thrasios Tymna. Which
I can see it.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Yeah, so it's not even a commander choice at this point. At least in the power levels that it wants to be in. I think this is kind of, I mean, I think the RC, the the CRC, the Competitive Rules Committee, kind of like pushed me over. But this is kind of I think this is more of like a tier grid power level type of thing. Like tier grid also kind of takes cards out of your hand. She does it manually by discarding. She also steals them. That this guy doesn't steal your stuff. It just makes it so that you only draw them one at a time. And okay, so this was banned in April of 2017. This was banned right before you and me started playing Commander.
Yeah.
So we haven't been able to touch it. But also, do you remember what Commander was like in 2017? I got stomped out on the daily. I got this is 2017 for you. My first ever built from scratch deck was Rith the Awakener. I played it in one pod where somebody did exactly what I told you not to do with Iona, but did it with OG Jin Kataxis. They discarded him, and the next turn reanimated him and cut everyone's hands down to 1. On turn 2. That's how unbalanced Commander was in 2017. There's a lot more structure today than there was back then. There's a lot more respect on Rule 0 than there was back then. So, sure, you're always going to get those outlier pub stompers who don't really care, or like maybe even flat out lie. I'm not going to, whatever. But there's a lot more structure. There's a lot more work put into having balanced gameplay, having distinct power levels of decks, and what people appreciate in those power levels and what people don't want to see. So I think I'm kind of convinced that Leovold is fine.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I'm at. I could see why it was banned back then, and now I can see why it can be unbanned today. That's the whole point of this video. Old cards that were terrifying and awful back in the day are not bad now. They are not good now, but they are not bad.
Yep. And don't be a dick. Those are basically the two main things.
Rule 0, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Yeah. All right. So the next one. So this is one
I need some convincing. No, this one.
Yeah. So this one I was like kind of on for a little bit. I'm a little shaky now, but I'll still go through it real quick, see if we can figure something out. So Library of Alexandria. So it's a land. Tap 1 to add a colorless to your mana pool, or draw a card from your library. You may use the card drawing ability only if you have exactly 7 cards in your hand. So with this, I was trying to figure this out, and I was like, all right, so I don't think it's that crazy of a card. Now, I think this is another one of those cards that kind of scales with how strong your deck is. So I think like early, like, you know, like pre-con level, you know, maybe even like focused, yeah, like at that level, like this card I don't think does dick for you, honestly. I don't think your deck's gonna be strong enough to really abuse it. Maybe when you're getting into like optimize and CDH, I could see it being strong, but then it's also like, all right, well, now we're more equipped to deal with it. The only thing is like, yeah, this is a land, but people are equipped to deal with card draw. So I guess the toxic like play pattern with this one was that essentially, you know, you would draw your card for turn, like if it's in your opening hand, go to 8, play this, go to 7, and then tap it to draw. And now it's like, all right, you're back at 8. And it's like, all right, well, now what can I do? And like in competitive, you can, you know, start playing some freeze spells if possible to kind of empty your hand a little bit. But I don't know. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it would be that great in competitive. I could see it maybe being stronger in optimize, where you're kind of built around it, and you know, you don't have to worry as much about like 10 cards being played, you know, a turn and having all this interaction. Like I think something like this where, you know, you kind of balance your hand out at 7, get the extra card draw each turn, you know, get to play an extra 1 or 2 free cards a turn. I think it can out tempo people and be a problem at like the optimized level, but all the other levels of decks, I don't think it's that great. And like we've been saying this whole time about, you know, the rule zero talk and figuring stuff out with your play group, I don't think that this is that crazy, honestly. You know, like I said, in the lower power level decks, I don't think it's going to help them whatsoever. If anything, they might have a super cool, turn like 3 or 4 where they get to draw 1 free card, but I don't really see them, really maximizing its value. In CEDH, I don't see it getting that maximized. Well, maybe with things being mid-range, I could kind of see it possibly, but then, it just puts a target on that person's back, because it's kind of like the same thing as getting like a turn 1 like Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora or something, and makes you a target, because now you're getting free advantage. But you can even argue that those cards are even better than this. So I don't know. I don't think it's that strong. I think that if you built your deck around it, and you could, if the game pace was slow enough where you could get away with playing 1 or 2 cards a turn, maybe like a stack deck or something, then maybe, yeah, it might be worth it. But I don't know. I think when it's good, but if you're not built around it, it's not great. So I feel like the restriction is you have to build around it. So your deck has to be a Library of Alexandria, like library, like it's not just a generic thing that can go in every deck. Like, and I think that was like part of it. Like, looking at the reason why it was banned, part of it is just because of how much money it costs, and because it's colorless, it can go everywhere. But like, it wasn't even played. I think it was banned right off the bat. It wasn't even able to be played in Commander. No, so like, we don't instantly. Yeah, so it's like you don't even know how good or bad it could be. And I feel like I made some valid points.
So I think, so this is the thing. It can be played in every deck. There is no real downside to it. It is an untapped colorless land.
Yeah.
That's not really a downside. It's not a spell. You can put it in any deck, whether it works or not. You always have that option of getting that extra card. And even in CEDH, like, yeah, the mid-range card draw meta is garbage for this deck. It is not deck, this card. What is it? It's fuck. It's just too much. I think, especially if you throw this in like Blue Farm, even in Sisse. Sisse doesn't use her hand, so she's going to be sitting on like 7 cards. A little more than normal. Little more than other decks. I think what's really scary is the play pattern that goes into this deck, or into this card, and it's a little similar to like how a player knows how to abuse Lion's Eye Diamond. It's similar to like if a player knows how to abuse Library of Alexandria, they're going to be digging so much deeper for essentially a land drop. And I think that ceiling is what's made everyone kind of scared of this card. I'm sure I'm sure I could find some videos of it being played in Vintage or something before it was banned. Is it even banned in Vintage?
I don't know.
What is it?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Let's see. Restricted in Vintage. I might be able to find some videos on like how it's being played in Vintage, but really it's like opening turn, if you got it, you draw your 8th, you play this, you have 7 cards, you get a free extra draw on your opening turn. But it's just the possibility of how many cards you can go through this. Untapping land stuff too with this card is insane. There's a lot of like sneaky things you can do with this card.
Yeah, which is fair, but I don't know. I feel like you'd have to kind of build your deck around it, and it only really helps you. Like, it can only potentially really pop off in like optimized and higher lists where it's like, all right, well, at that level you need to have removal, and like you should be kind of ready to deal with these kinds of things.
Land removal. See, this is what kind of hard to come by. Oh no,
yeah. Well, like besides like strip mine, and there's a handful of land removal lands. But yeah, see, this is why you get Hullbreacher back, and then Hullbreacher can take care of this that easy. See?
There we go, unbanning and balancing the game.
The unbans, they balance each other out. I'm just saying. See? Got it all figured out. All right, next one. All right, so this is one we both agree on.
Yeah, you convinced me on
is,
this one.
Yeah, so Panoptic Mirror. It's an artifact for 5. It has Imprint X, and you tap it, and it goes, you may remove an instant or sorcery where converted mana costs X in your hand from the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy an imprinted instant or sorcery card and play the copy without paying its mana cost. So, essentially, people would, you know, get this, and then you could get any kind of, like, extra turn spell imprinted on this, and then every upkeep you play a go again spell, and you just have infinite turns. And the thing with this is, like, at least when it was banned, you know, their reasoning is that it's a trap for casual deck builders because it seems, you know, like it's good, but it can also kind of just slow the game down, apparently. But I don't know, I feel like when someone gets infinite turns, like, you know, they're gonna win. Usually people scoop after that. Like, if someone has infinite turns, then you have none of you have any interaction, like, you know, you probably lost that game. But even besides that, I don't really see this as being a problem. I mean, same thing, like, we already have, like, Isochron Scepter and Narset's Reversal to bounce and play extra turn spells anyway. Like, that was old win condition and Yuriko's old CDH lists, like, extra turns Yuriko.
It's still that was Con and Tygam, Odra Time Master. That is kind of one of the things that it does.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not really like a crazy card anymore, especially because it costs 5 right off the bat, and then you have to pay for that card too, in a sense, to imprint it, and then it can still be countered or destroyed in the meantime. So it's like there are a lot of interaction points. There's a lot of ways you could stop it, and, you know, back in 2005, yeah, I could see this being very strong. Now in 2024, yeah, that's just not the case anymore. That it's not strong enough. And yeah, that might be a cool win condition that someone can do in one of their decks. Maybe that'll be in your Golos deck, where you could put all these weird win conditions in. Golos weird wins, that's what we'll call it. It'll be so much fun.
Infinite Turn Golos was a deck.
Infinite Turn
Golos. It was already decked
deck.
It was already a deck because it did it better than the other commanders. But I think what they meant by trap is that it was stronger than it looked. Like on paper, it doesn't look as strong until you get to play it, and I can kind of see that, where it's a unrestricted Isochron Scepter, but now we have ways of making Isochron Scepter unrestricted with Narset, specifically with Narset's Reversal. It's an extra card, but it's a playable card. It's kind of a counterspell. It's kind of a counterspell when it needs to be, and it's a copy effect for you whenever you need it to be too. So Isochron Scepter already does stupid broken things. Panoptic Mirror at this point in power creep feels like the same thing. Feels like an extra Isochron Scepter. If you're playing Isochron Scepter, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to play this. If you're not playing Isochron Scepter, I don't see a reason why you would want to play this.
Fair. I mean, I think Isochron Scepter might be a little bit better. This one happens at the beginning of your upkeep. Each turn Isochron Scepter, you activate it to choose when it happens. So there's slight differences, but both have their
yeah, the Isochron Scepter Narset Reversal thing is cheaper than this to get an extra turn loop going.
A lot cheaper. Yeah, so I mean that works. Yeah, so now we got it situated. Panoptic Mirror, unban. All right. Ooh, this next one. This one's a personal favorite of mine.
You again? Oh wait,
me.
Oh no, that one's next. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Paradox Engine. So Paradox Engine's an artifact for 5. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. So this got banned back in 2019. because essentially it can be played in all decks, and essentially around that time more and more artifacts were starting to get printed for mana, and people kind of realized that you could just kind of start looping your artifacts and just getting crazy amounts of mana. And the thing was is that it was a good, as the name says, it's a good engine. It helps get you going. But when you have a bad deck and you can't do anything when your engine gets going, then you just kind of waste 20 minutes of doing nothing. So that was essentially a big problem with it, was that people were putting it in all different decks, but it couldn't do anything in your deck. So although, yeah, you might be able to start looping some cards and you might be able to put together, 10, 15 mana in a turn, which sounds really cool, and maybe you draw a couple cards out of it, but if you're not able to actually do anything or start to win with that, then it's not really helping you. And that was the problem. So a lot of people, same thing, it got used and abused in lower power levels. Lower power level people cried about it. And now here we are, where it's banned. Wrongfully, I say. Wrongfully banned. Bring it back.
Don't bring it back. I already sold my copy.
That's all more reason to bring it back.
Bought it in May of 2019, played it once in June, got banned in July. Resold it for like $10 after buying it for like 50. Don't bring it back. Hurts. It'll hurt my feelings.
That hurts. I have a holographic Hullbreacher that I got right before it got banned. It was like a $60, $70 card. Then it got banned. I don't even want to know what it's worth now.
It's
like
$5. I'm not even,
yeah, probably.
I'm not even joking.
Probably. Well, it's alright. It's going to shoot up in price once all of our unbans go live, and that's unbanned. Yeah, but besides that, Paradox Engine is exactly what it is. It's like it's in the name. It's an engine for a deck. It gets you going. It lets you start to pop off. It lets you do your thing. But if your deck sucks and your deck, you can't do your thing good enough, then it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing like we've been talking about. You have to have cards strong enough for the power level you're playing in, but do not drop down power level with strong cards. Don't go to weaker pods. Don't go to weaker pods with something like this.
Yeah, no, this is not but this isn't even for a focus deck. This is for decks that are like, you don't dirtle.
Let's say optimize. Yeah.
This is
optimized.
This is not for dirtling. That's why it was banned in the first place. I think so. The next quarterly update from, should we call them the real rules committee or the fake rules committee? Because we're the rules committee now.
We are the rules committee.
The old rules committee, the old guard, the old rules committee, is going to come out with their ban list, or not ban list, but their quarterly update at the end of this month. I think, since they're already looking at Nadu, I think if they keep Nadu unbanned, I think Paradox Engine should probably be unbanned too. Nadu has its own little issues as like a deck in general of just dirtling. I know this is colorless. It kind of opens the floodgates a little bit to more decks being able to dirtle and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think so this was one of the cards. It wasn't initially banned or unbanned by the competitive rules committee. It was definitely talked about though, and even in competitive, I think the consensus or the general consensus for Paradox Engine in the rules committee in the competitive rules committee Discord was it isn't good enough. It might have a deck here and there, but it's not as ubiquitous and not as like throw it into any deck and it'll do good anymore. It's an actual, you got to think about the card slot. You got to think about how your deck can take advantage of it.
Yeah, the game has changed a lot since this got banned.
I could see a world where this comes back.
Absolutely.
I don't want it to come back because I want my money back, but
That's fair. We'll just buy some right now at $5, and then when this
yeah.
video goes live, we'll already have all the copies, and then we sell them so you get your money back and a cheap cut.
There we go.
This is the way we're gonna manipulate
Inside
the market.
trading.
Inside trading, perfect.
All right.
So to the next one, Primeval Titan.
We can do a couple of. We can mix these two because these got this one and
they're close to the same.
They're pretty close to the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next ones that they're essentially the same guy. We'll shrink you for a second. Sean thinks we should unban Primeval Titan.
We should.
I think we should unban Sylvan Primordial. They're both basically the same thing. One is significantly stronger than the other.
Yes, Sylvan Primordial.
Oh, Sylvan Primordial is definitely the stronger one. Yeah, you got me. So Primetime was banned first. Primetime is the only Titan that was banned in the Titan cycle. It's a 6/6 for 4 and 2 green with trample that says whenever Primeval Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Now, I might have to just take the L here, because again, this is another card that the CRC, the Competitive Rules Committee, was testing as an unbanned card. Even though I think searching for 2 unrestricted land cards, even though they come into play tapped, is kind of crazy. I have a Lord Windgrace deck. I know what landfall can do. I know the land combos pretty well. I'm not saying they're CDH viable, but I'm saying that like it's a pretty strong thing.
So it's fair.
Yeah, Sylvan Primordial.
All right. Let me speak my case. Let me just speak my case first on this one before we. You know what? Actually, no. Go ahead. Do Sylvan Primordial, and then I'll speak my case.
Yeah, I'll be quick with Sylvan Primordial. Sylvan Primordial is a 6/8 for 5 and 2 green with reach instead of trample. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So, only ETB, not on attack, 1. 2, costs more. 3, restricted land search only for forests. And that's only if you destroy a permanent that all your opponents control. I think they might have. I gotta check if they changed the wording. I don't really care. But essentially, it's 7 mana for removal. Search for forests. It's a fixed Primeval Titan. That's really what it is. It's a weaker Primeval Titan. And I think that one's a lot better to unban than Primetime. But I guess I'm wrong. They both should be.
They both. So I could see them both being unbanned. So here's the thing. Well, Primeval Titan. So out of the two, I mean, here's the thing. When you look at it at each different level, so like optimize. All right. So first, CDH not being played in CDH. So we'll just cut that out. Either of them right off the bat. Then neither of these two are going to be played in CDH. You go into optimized. Optimized, I don't see Sylvan Primordial being played and optimized. I could see Primeval Titan being played in an optimized list, potentially doing some landfall stuff. So like there is a potential there. But even at the optimized stage, 1, people have removal to deal with it. 2, it's still 6 mana. And like in a land deck where you're ramping out, like, yeah, I can understand that's not like that much and it's getting you 2 lands, whatever you need. Super awesome. But at optimized, someone can kill it. Like that's just how it is. Someone will counter it, someone will kill it. Like that's not a big deal. At the stages lower than that. So when you're hitting like the pre-con, super casual level, now this is where I arguably think these cards get better. I think that's where these cards will flourish now. So back in 2012, when Primeval Titan was banned, in 2014 for the Primordial, yeah, back then they may have been too strong. Now you playing a 6 or a 7 drop to try to, like, you know, turn the corner to end the game, yeah, that's right where you want to be in that power level. And you're probably not ramping out anything crazy, so you might be getting Primeval Titan on like 5 and Sylvan Primordial on like, you know, maybe 5 or 6, you know, unless you hit that lucky soul ring in the beginning and draw into this card, you know. But like, besides that, yeah, you'll get a tiny bit of ramp, but in those weaker power levels, yeah, turn like 5, 6, you know, should have your board built up by then. You want to start making moves and start trying to push through other people's defenses, start turning the game. So yeah, Primeval Titan's going to start getting you those lands, which honestly, and you know, super casual, yeah, it'll help get you to like your higher cost spells, because if you're in casual, you're definitely playing like a random 8 or 9 drop because it's casual, and why not? You want to play that big stupid card, and this card will get you there, which is exactly what you need. So it'll be a good fit there. And same thing with Sylvan Primordial. Sylvan Primordial could be that big stupid 7 drop that, you know, starts picking away at your opponent's defenses, starts opening up the way for you to get in.
Specifically non-creatures.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, but other things, maybe they got some protection up or something. Yeah. It's decent removal. But that's the thing. It's now where the game's at with power creep. You know, I could see a time where this was way too strong, but nowadays neither of these cards are bad at all. I don't think either of them are going into CDH. I don't think Sylvan Primordial's going into optimized. The Primetime might, but I think they're really gonna thrive in like more casual games. And yeah, I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's a bad spot for him. Primeval Titan could almost be a Crater Hoof in a sense. Could almost be like that Crater Hoof win at, like, you know, those, you know, right above pre-con levels where your deck's starting to be a little focused. Like, it could start to get you there and be a staple, which I don't think is the worst thing. I don't think it's a bad card for that at all. It helps you turn the corner and push you to your win, which for 6 mana at, you know, probably around turn 5, I don't think that's bad at all. Yeah. Especially when casual games are probably ending by around turn 10. You know, 10 to like 12. That's not bad. I don't think either of these are a problem whatsoever. And like all the stupid stuff that used to be able to be done with them, you know, like flickering them or doing whatever the old combos were.
We got other things. We got other things that do that.
Yeah, we got other things that do it, and you know, it's the same thing. Don't bring those high level combos to a low level pod. Don't be a dick. Rule number 2 of what we've learned today.
Yeah, so I guess the real reason why I would agree to Sylvan Primordial and not really Primeval Titan is, again, I have a Windgrace deck, I have a Landfall deck, I love it to death. I would throw Primeval Titan in there in an instant. It boosts the deck's power level so well. Like it kind of still keeps it at the same 8, 9, not numbers, optimized, kind of pushes it to a little bit of high powered, but not really over the top. But I wouldn't touch Sylvan Primordial with a 10-foot pole. Just it doesn't belong here. Primeval Titan, I could see an argument where it should stay banned. I don't see an argument where anyone would want Sylvan Primordial to stay on the ban list. It doesn't make sense anymore to me. I think that's really what it was, is Sylvan Primordial is just so egregiously unnecessarily banned at this point.
It's fair.
It's like Biorhythm. It's just like it's not necessary anymore.
Yeah, not a thing anymore. All right, next one we got. This one we both agree on.
Yep.
Yeah. So what is this?
And so does the CRC. I'm going to be saying that. Actually, this might be the last time I'm saying that.
Yeah. So Rofellos Llanowar Emissary. It's 2 green. It's an elf. Tap it, add a green mana to your mana pool for every forest you control. You know, back in 2014, and, you know, mono green, yeah, I could see this being, you know, a problem and ramping you out like crazy. I mean, maybe still in mono green, you know, maybe it'll give mono green elves some more firepower and commander, make them better, but honestly, it's not too crazy. I mean, yeah, you could do Yawgmoth. What is it? Not Yawgmoth Coast. Sylvan that makes everything for us.
Cradle of Growth.
Yeah, Cradle of Growth. Yeah, you get the Yawgmoth Cradle of Growth, turn everything into a forest, tap them for like 5-6 mana. Cool. We already got that in black. We already got Cabal Coffers and Urborg. Like, we've already experimented with this in black. It's not crazy. It's the same thing in casual and like pre-con. It's a fun thing to do. In optimized, that's where you can potentially abuse it, but it doesn't see any play in competitive because it's not actually that great. I mean, this honestly would definitely help. This would definitely help mono green in competitive, but it should just be unbanned for that. Just in general, any help that mono green can get in competitive, we honestly shouldn't have to talk about it at all. It should just be added because Lord knows mono green needs help right now. Mono green is hurting. It needs our help, boys.
It's kind of crazy how the casual boogeyman is green and green is terrible in CEDH. So I could see like even in the casual tables, just ramping for each force you control. Yeah, you could have this as your commander, run mono green. I'm pretty sure this was one of the original banned as commander cards too at some point. Where it was just too strong in the command zone, and then they put it in the 99. No, it wasn't?
I don't know. It just says banned in 2014, so I don't know if it was a banned as commander thing.
Banned as commander, I think they kind of just threw banned as commander away because even just explaining it was confusing or something. But anyway, like ramping in green, that's nothing special. That's nothing new. Again, Cabal Coffers.
That's what green does.
Yeah, Cabal Coffers and Urborg, Yawgmoth, Rofellos. Rofellos is a creature. You can kill it a lot easier than you could kill a Cabal Coffers. And 9 times out of 10, the Cabal Coffers always pays for itself anyway and still makes you like another 10 mana or like 5 mana. So in mono green, this is a powerhouse card. As you start adding colors, it starts getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And the CRC even admitted to wanting to starting with unbanning this card, having it being tested out to help give green that extra push. But yeah. I don't think that would have been enough to the point where it would have been unbanned by the CRC and still not played. That's kind of like how dependent this card is with colors. I think this is a great commander. Maybe a staple in mono green 99 at a certain power level, but it's okay now. It's just okay. How many forests are you really running in a deck at this point?
Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all.
Yeah, well, honestly, at this point, you might be making four mana.
Yeah, at this point, bring it back. Bring back my boy. Elves need the help. Mono green needs help. Bring him in. All right, now we got just a couple left right at the end here. So next one, these last ones are mine. Tolarian Academy. So Tolarian Academy, a land, add a blue for each artifact you control. Man, I don't think this is broken. Yeah, I'm sure you can get, stupid, artifact decks, mono blue stuff. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. But, I don't think it's that bad. Every deck runs artifacts, every deck uses them to ramp and, do all this other stuff. I get it. But it is also in the same light as, a Serra Sanctum, where, add a white for each enchantment you control. This is add a blue for each artifact. I don't think it's that bad. I'm sure there will be ways where you can, untap it and bounce it and do 4 or 5 card combos where you get infinite blue. But if you're doing 4 or 5 card combos, you got a lot worse things to worry about than just this card out there. I'm sure there are ways it could be broken, but I don't see it being that crazy right now. I could see it really seeing a lot of play and really being broken or being tough to deal with in the optimized level. I don't know if this would make it to CEDH just because
100%.
With all, I don't know, just because of all the multicolored decks, it might, but I'm not sure. I just don't know what decks would run it and really be able to take advantage of all the blue, because it's like blue, it's really just like your counter spells for the most part. I don't think you have a lot of blue stuff outside of counter spells that you're really doing besides like
Phantasmal
Das's
Image,
Oracle.
Gilded Drakes, even just generic costs. Just using the blue for generic costs. This is essentially Guy's Cradle on crack because it's ramping off of ramp, but unlike Guy's Cradle, where you're running off of like the mana dorks that have summoning sickness, you're ramping off of Mana Crypts, Mox Diamonds, Soul Rings, even lower than that, Arcane Signets, Talismans, stuff like that. And the scariest thing, even for like lower powered stuff, the scariest thing is this thing coming back for affinity decks. Affinity to artifact decks is insane with this. Because you're just ramping things out, making things cheaper, also having a bunch of mana. It's... I think I'd want to test it. I think I want to test it, but I don't think it's going to test well. I think it's still going to be a terrifying, overpowered monstrosity. Because yeah, Sarah Sanctum. Fair. Yeah, but like Sarah Sanctum goes off of enchantments. How many zero cost enchantments can you name?
That's true.
As the same thing with like creatures and with Gaia's Cradle. Like how many zero cost creatures can you name? I can name like 3. And yeah. they're all red, mono red kobolds.
Red kobolds.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I
see what you're saying. So that is a solid point. I would definitely need to see it be played out. I think this is one of those cards where I'm not super convinced. It would be, it's rough.
It makes Rockside faster. Rockside does not need to be faster.
That's fair. That's what I said. I could see it maybe being good in certain decks. I think it would be a lot better in like lower color decks, like mono blue, red. I think it would be a lot better in those decks, and I kind of almost want to give it to them just to help bring up, the Niv Mizzets or like, those kinds of decks. Like,
oh, this would be so good in Niv Mizzet. Like terrifyingly good in Niv Mizzet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I almost want to bring it back to let lower colored decks compete with higher colored decks. You know what I mean? Like I could see your point with Rogsai. I could see your point. I could see Timna and the flying guy. I can't think of his name.
Crom.
Blue red. Yeah, Timna Crom. Like I can see it helping them also. But it's like besides helping you turbo out a Crom, which like obviously is great for you, but like besides that, I don't see it being that spectacular. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm just like,
I mean,
deep
Guy's
thinking about
Cradle's
it,
weaker than this, or arguably weaker than this, and it's being played in any deck that runs green up there. Like it's a powerhouse in Tyam. It's running. I'm pretty sure you run it in Tim the Thrasios.
Yeah,
Thrasios,
but that's because we run creatures. We run creature packages.
Yeah. So you built around it.
So you have to build
because green's built around it. The same thing how blue's built around artifacts.
Yeah.
And most of the ramp in those Grixis plus colors are artifacts. That's why Mox Opal is now like still playable even though you're running like 10, 12, 15 artifacts. Just because you're always hard mulling for that fast ramp, you're always going to have those. You're going to at least have two artifacts in hand with Opal.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. It's interesting. I think I might take it back on this one, but I would want to see it played out. I want to see if it would benefit like one or two colored decks more than it would benefit the main decks, and then see how that would go from there. That I think is what I would really be interested in seeing. But yeah, Tolarian Academy, we're gonna have to come back to this. We're gonna have to look into this.
Back in jail, but You're
figure it
hearing
out.
scheduled for like 2 years from now.
Yeah. All right. This one's a little crazy. Yawgmoth's bargain.
You're high.
Yawgmoth's bargain. This is crazy. I know it's crazy. I've seen it be crazy. I'm just saying, at the points where this card's a problem, you could deal with it. Competitive, it can be dealt with. Counter it. Everyone has counters. Everyone plays blue. If you don't play blue, you have removal. Every color now has removal for like enchantments. It's not crazy. Just remove it. Get rid of it. Then would you go optimize? Yeah, it could also be a problem in optimize, but people have enchantment removal and optimize. That's not like the craziest thing. But like I think in the lower power, yeah, it's rough. But it's also like if you're playing low power, it doesn't matter if you draw 20 cards, you're probably only going to be able to play 1 or 2 of them. So it's just a waste. You're just burning your life. Your deck's not built around, your deck's not strong enough to do something like this. So this whole thing, I don't even know if it's so much of the card is like too powerful in general. I think it's just a card that's easily sort I'm looking for. Easily abusable. Yeah, it's very abusable in Commander with the 40 life, and I understand that. But it's like you get this card out, it was a 6 mana, you get it out turn 4 or 5. Yeah, you have a strong enough deck. Yeah, go ahead, draw 20-30 cards, do something crazy like that. In like competitive where you got Ad Nauseam, you got Peer into the Abyss, you got Necropotence, you got that other fake Necropotence, there's already cards that do this, and there's already ways that they've been broken, and there's already win conditions and lines built around them. Adding another similar card for a lot more mana, I don't think is the worst, honestly. That's number 1. And number 2, in the lower power levels where where people were upset about drawing a lot of cards, you're probably not doing anything really anyway. You're probably playing a card or 2. And then even in the lower power levels, you see the best thing about the low power levels is that people aren't really playing combos or anything like that. It's all combat damage. So this card really does hurt you more in lower power levels because it's like, all right, well, I played 3 cards this turn, so I'm going to activate it for 3 and draw 3 cards. Well, now I'm taking 3 more life. And now by the time I played this, we've already got hit a couple times. Now a couple more turns go by and we're in super pre-con casual. So my deck sucks just like everybody else's. And I can't really close out the game. But now I got 3 other people who are all swinging at me, just picking my life away. And the card loses a lot of value quickly in casual. As long as, the table works together at all, it really isn't that bad. And so, again, also, this is one of those cards that was banned. This was banned back in 2006. This was like one of those banning at the dawn of Commander.
Yeah, banned before Commander was really a thing.
Yeah, like this was one of those where they were just like, oh, wait, this could actually be really stupid. We have 40 life now. We can't just let people draw 39 cards. Well, you made other cards that do that, like Ad Nauseam and Peer into the Abyss. Like, there's already Necropotence, there's already other cards that let you do this, and the format is fine. This, not the end of the world. See, when I put it like that, it doesn't sound that bad, does it?
Yeah, there's only one thing. So this is the reason why I also took out one of my choices. I personally want Reoccurring Nightmares back, but it's way too strong. I understand that. I just really like Reanimator. So this is the same issue with Reoccurring Nightmares, is it doesn't matter if you remove this card. Unless you're flat out countering it, they get to activate it at instant speed to draw a card. So they pay a life to draw a card, goes on the stack, you try to remove it. In response, they pay a life, they draw a card, goes on the stack, and they just keep looping that. So you kind of only stop them. You didn't even stop them from using the effect that they wanted. Versus with Necropotence and Necrodominance, they don't get the cards until the end step. So there are moments of interaction where you could actually stop them. Necropotence more, because they pay the life ahead of time and exile the card. So if you take out Necropotence, I don't think you get the card. It's either they don't get the card or it's a delayed trigger. I'm not fully sure.
I don't know. I think they still get it.
They might still get it.
So I think it gets exiled with that effect attached to it.
Maybe. And then ad nauseum, you have to build your deck specifically for this. So there are certain hoops that you have to jump through for the other cards versus this one. I could even see a world where you play this, pay a bunch of life to draw your cards at someone else's end step, and then blow it up yourself so you still have your draw step. Like, I could see,
but
I could see
now
this
you're getting dangerous. You're getting into higher level talk.
Yes,
And what I'm saying,
so your casual, so the argument for casual makes sense, just like how it makes sense for the other cards too, because life as a resource isn't really a thing, isn't really a I wouldn't say thought about. It's not really
as
a
used.
great idea. It's not really strong because your life, because everyone's
is worth more.
Everyone's swinging, so your life is more important because that's how you lose the game at lower power tables. So I can see that argument. That's fine. But it's when we get into the necromancy or necropotence and all the other stuff that I feel like this card is a little much. Even though it's 6 mana, it's a later game thing. I don't know. No. I feel like this is your Keurig talking.
No.
Nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh. Nah. I don't think it's as bad as what it's made out to be. And yeah, I could see like it getting removed and in response you drawing a bunch of cards, but it's like even then you still need a deck strong enough. One, you need a deck strong enough to be able to like do something about that. So like probably optimize CDH list this would see play and like actually be useful.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna pump out, even in optimized, you're still, taking some damage, but like even in, even in optimized, you're still taking damage. So it's still, hurting you. But I don't know. I don't think it's that outlandish, because even if you pump 30 into it, you have like 5 life left and like 30 something cards in hand. Yeah, you got one turn. You got one turn and you got to fight through 3 other people who probably, aren't that in that bad of shape. I mean, especially in CDH, someone's just going to silence you right off the bat, and then they're going to smoke you and like hitting you in the next 3 turns to end it. Like, it's very, there's ways to play around it. It's not as strong as it was, all those years ago. I say bring it back.
I still think it's way too strong. The CMC definitely hits it. The 6 mana to play it definitely brings it down in strength, but that effect is just unmitigated. Instant speed, draw whenever you want is kind of even for 1 life is a bit crazy. Like I think this would take over ad nauseum decks. Just take the slot. Just take the slot.
I don't know. If anything, it would be like an extra, because ad nauseum is still instant speed when you can bang it out, and it still has extra like ways to play around it. I think it would be like a backup ad naus, definitely. Just like actually maybe not, because necropotence and that other necro card are already, now you have 3 cards in the same deck. Yeah, that are a lot cheaper and like similar effects. So it's risky. It's difficult to say honestly where it would fit. But I think it could fit in a couple places. Yeah. And I think if you build your deck around it, it'll be good.
You guys know what we're going to ask you at the end of the video. You know you're going to let us know. You're going to let us know in the comments how you feel about this.
Yeah, let us know.
Oh,
but
you have
now I have one one last thing.
Big one.
Yeah, so this is probably my hottest take of hot takes. If it wasn't hot enough,
if it wasn't
Yawgmoth's bargain, it's definitely this one. So hear me out on this. I'm just gonna say it and I'm gonna let it sit for a second, and then we'll get into it. It'll be like ripping off a band-aid. I think we should unban the Moxes. All 5 of them. Pearl, Ruby, Jet, Emerald, Sapphire, all 5. Now hear me out. For those just who don't know, those Moxes were from like the very beginning of Magic. There's 0 cost artifacts. Each one comes in for 0. Tab adds 1 color of the whatever Mox it is. So Sapphire is blue, Ruby's red, Pearl's white, Jet is black, Emerald's green. Basically, these cards were initially banned because they're crazy money. That was literally the thought process behind it. And because of how strong they are, they would theoretically go in every single deck. It's like, oh, I have a green deck. Yep, a Mox Emerald should be in there. Oh, I have a black deck. Yep, I should have a Mox Jet in there. And technically, well, actually, no, that's not even a true statement anymore. But yeah, they would go in most decks. Not a true statement anymore because, and here's the thing, we're going to talk about deck building in a later video and picking cards that are the right power level for that deck. So as we've been talking throughout today, we were saying like, hey, don't use Iona and Painter Servant in a casual pod because that's an asshole thing to do. Don't be that asshole. That's the same thing with these Moxes. Don't put your Mox Emerald in your CDH, or you can put it in the CDH mono green deck, but like throwing, you know, your Mox Emerald in your casual Elves deck, yeah, that's just giving you a crazy little bump for free. It's putting it at the right power level. So pretty much, I would say definitely optimize and up. Optimize CDH, throw them all in. Precon, nope, no place there. Focused, nope, no place there. Nope, doesn't go in there.
I wouldn't even put it in optimized.
I would put it when you're going strong optimized. Yeah, I'd put it in optimized. I would put these in my Nekusar deck 100%.
I would put this 100% in high power CDH. I don't know if I'd put it in optimized.
Wait, no, optimized is right underneath CDH.
No, it's optimized then high power then. Our scales are different. Our scales are different. We've
been talking for a long time. We're confused. But yeah, right underneath CDH and CDH, I would definitely have these.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where they should be. And honestly, they're yes, they are a lot of money. So is most of the decks we're building. That's number one. Money shouldn't be an issue, especially in Commander where we proxy everything. Yeah, money's not an issue, because especially in the higher power level pods where everyone wants to proxy everything, because, you know, the slogan is we don't want to beat your wallet, we want to beat you and your deck. Yeah, that's everyone. No one will care if you were to proxy this. I would be upset at you if you actually came out with a real Mox Jet to play with. I would be very upset with you if you had something that expensive that could potentially get messed up by accident. But yeah, these can see play. They're strong cards, and honestly, we already have so many other cards, other Moxes that are so similar in power level that doesn't even really like hurt that much. Like Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Mox Amber. There are literally a bunch of other Moxes that do like the same things, if not better. Like I can argue Mox Diamond is better than Mox Emerald or Mox Jet. I mean, not in like a monocolored deck, but in like any other more than one color deck, I legitimately think Mox Diamond's better. Mox Diamond's another 0 cost artifact that you play it and you gotta sacrifice a land when it comes in, and it taps for 1 mana of any color. Where like Mox Emerald can only do green, Mox Jet can only do black. Like I could see that being just strictly better. But that's what I'm saying, and that's like a staple in the format like these would be for competitive decks. But I think there is a place for him. I think it can be played. I don't think it would break the format in any which way, as long as you don't be a jerk and start putting them in casual decks like we've spoken about multiple times in this video. But yeah, I think they have a place.
I don't have a counter argument. The only thing I can say is just homogenizes decks again. It will go into every single deck of the power level that it can go into. That's the only real thing. So it's like I've the same argument. I've seen the same argument for Soul Ring, for Mana Crypt, for
Arcane
Mox
Signet.
Diamond, from Arcane Signet. Although Command Tower, all those cards that just go into every deck without a second thought. Like, that's the only real argument I have against the Moxes at this point too. It's an extra land. It's like an extra land. I don't know if it's stronger than Mox Diamond. That's
Multicolored decks.
maybe.
Would you rather a Mox Ruby or a Mox Diamond in your opening hand, and a 4-color deck? I'm just saying.
Depends on the hand. If I have a land that I can discard to Mox Diamond, or that I would want to discard to Mox Diamond, or if I have a hand that needs the red, or not even needs the red, just needs the extra, like, doesn't need.
No, I'm saying, like, it's very situational. Yeah. It's situational, but I think overall you're gonna find more cases of Mox Diamond being better.
Yeah, that's the only argument I have for it, is just it's another no thought card slot. Like, you don't think about throwing in Soul Ring, you don't think about throwing in Mana Crypts, you won't think about throwing in the Moxes. That's the only argument I have.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I think that's probably my hottest take, and it's starting to make me sweat. That's how hot it was. But yeah, so actually that concludes it. That is all the cards we would unban. Notice how it was just about all of them.
It was a decent chunk. It was a decent chunk.
So with that being said,
it's like this ban list hasn't been updated.
Yeah, in a very long time.
There are some cards that we would want to ban too, though. Because also, Wizard's power creep also has caused some issues. We got Nadu, but we've also gotten some other issues from Wizards throughout the years. And this is one that I kind of got convinced. I had Ian from Mind Sculptors, and better probably known as Comedian, kind of convinced me that Orcish Bowmaster should be banned. I always was under the impression that people were smart and were going to punish the person who drew cards, and he kind of enlightened me, saying that it doesn't, because unless you kill them, you're not punishing them. They're still getting the cards, they're still doing what they want to do with the cards. But instead they're punishing the creature-based stuff. And yeah, instead they're punishing the creature-based strategies, and that's kind of one of the big reasons why CEDH has become a little stagnant, especially with their meta of now mid-range value, not a lot of creatures, just sitting around with counterspells, blue staying strong.
Yeah, it does. Because you're always going to choose the Birds of Paradise over pinging someone for one.
Yeah,
that's always going to. You're always going to pick off the one
and you're killing them. Like,
yeah, you're basically always going to take those, like the mana dorks and like those kinds of cards. You're always going to pick those, and that's kind of the big problem with it. So it was obviously designed to hurt card draw, and in competitive, so that's the thing, and not even competitive yet, but in Commander, it's not doing enough to hurt card draw. It's really it just works so much more effective as killing people's creatures. So that I don't think it was designed. I think they had the right idea, trying to punish card draw, but they just didn't see how it would play out, and I think they fumbled the bag,
and they printed something just like Bowmasters, or they're printing one for Duskmourn. It's mono red, it costs 2 red, and instead it hits the person who drew the card instead of any creature or whatever, and that is not going to see play ever. It's not. No. It's because it's not a good effect.
It's not.
So yeah, I'm kind of convinced Bowmasters, it's not a problem in Modern apparently, but it's a problem in Commander, and it's not even on the original Old Guard Rules Committee's radar right now, because they don't really care about balancing CDH, and it's not a problem in the lower power levels because they're not drawing cards like that. Now, really quick, the other ones. Now, this one I like. I think this is another take that no, you know what? I had this take first. Screw you, Ian. I had this take first. Bunch of talk about how nobody likes Thoracle. Nobody likes losing to it. It's always feel bads or whatever. Thoracle's not the problem. I will argue it is the cards that combo with Thoracle that are the problem. Specifically, Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact. The two, what are they called? Forbidden Tutors? They combo with Thoracle in a way that is kind of busted. Those colors, it's kind of weird that we're banning black, that I want to ban black cards to bring down blue's power level, but that's kind of where it's at. Because Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact both essentially exile your entire deck, and giving you a 2-card combo with Thassa's Oracle that is decently hard to interact with. These cards were around forever with Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, even before that with Laboratory Maniac. But you at least had to draw a card to win the game with that way. Thassa's Oracle changed things up a little bit to where now she's the go-to, and it's a very hard win to kind of beat. Now, that being said, it sounds like Thassa's Oracle is the problem, but it's not. That effect is so kind of niche. Without Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact, Thassa's Oracle is so hard to pull off, of drawing your entire deck or even exiling your entire deck, unless you're built to do that. So Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact, they're kind of tutors when you need them. You almost never tutor with them because 9 times out of 10 you're exiling a bunch of cards that you need to win the game too. They're last-ditch efforts. If someone's trying to win the game on top of you and you have no other way of interacting with them, that's when you play one of these, get that interaction piece, and stop them from winning. Outside of that, 9 times out of 10, they're just used to win. Nothing else. They're not even played in other black decks. They're not even played in mono black decks. They're not even played in black red decks, black green decks. They're just not. This is a black blue card issue. And I think if those two, if you ban Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact, I think Thassa's Oracle gets a lot weaker to the point where it might not be played in every single blue deck.
I mean, that is a possibility.
It's just not good enough. You don't need it for Underworld Breach. You just mill everyone else instead with Brain Freeze. It's just unnecessary.
You could also kind of see it in think about it, when you think about other blue decks that don't have black in it, like Kinnan. Thassa's Oracle isn't getting played as a win condition in those other decks. They're doing other things that are more effective. Yeah, it's really just a blue-black thing.
It is, yeah. It's just blue. It's just a blue-black issue. Even with Paradigm Shift is like a mono blue card. That's not seeing play ever. Kenrith can draw himself out with his own ability. That's commander centric. That's fine. The same thing with little Hypnotoke, Grolnock. Some cards up on the screen. Whatever. He frog counters, crow counters, whatever they're called. He essentially also exiles his entire deck and can play Thassa's Oracle from exile. They're all built around they're commander-centric decks that win with Thassa's Oracle. It's not a generic 2-card combo that can be thrown into anything. So yeah. I think that'll definitely fix. If it doesn't fix anything, it at least opens up some card slots for a little bit more variety in the decks that are running Thassa's Oracle and these cards and Demonic Consultation Tainted Pact.
I don't think that's the worst idea. I don't think that's necessarily bad. But yeah, no, that could see some play. But yeah. So I mean, those are the cards that we would unban.
That's the new ban list.
Yeah,
that is the brand new ban list. All of you are forced to play with them, whether you like it or not. The rules committee has spoken. By that I mean us.
Yep. Us being the new rules committee, we decided this is how it goes. So build your decks accordingly. Don't
be dicks.
Mess up. Yep. Don't be dicks. Don't mess up lower power levels. And yeah, what was good
Be
20
kind,
years
rewind.
ago? Yeah, what was good 20 years ago probably isn't that good anymore. So feel free to experiment, try to find some new broken stuff. If there's any other weird like combos, I'm sure people can probably think of something with prime time and some newer cards.
We're 100% gonna get yelled at for this.
If you can think of some silly stuff, let us know in the comments. But besides that, yeah, so starting now, that's the new Unban list, or the new ban list. So build decks accordingly, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Don't forget to like, comment.